Analysis of multiple choice question exam quality by performing item distractor analysis in Excel. A distractor is a wrong or incorrect answer in a multiple choice question. If a multiple choice question have 4 answer options, one of the answer options will be the correct answer and the rest will be the incorrect answer options, and they will be called distractors. The function of the distractor is to distract the student from selecting the correct answer and will attract them to select the wrong answer, i.e. the distractor. So the distractor can be effective, functional, or can be ineffective, non-functional, useless. And the way to evaluate the item distractor is to use the Kelley's equation method for item discrimination analysis. I have already produced several video clips describing the background, the concept, and the method of Kelley's equation with associated example or data. The Kelley's equation for item discrimination equals to upper group minus lower group divided by the 27% total. To perform item distractor analysis using Kelley's equation, the total scores achieved by each individual student will be calculated, and then the total score will be ranked or ordered from a higher to a lower value. And then the students will be divided into two groups, upper group and lower group. The upper group will represent the top 27% of total score, and the lower group will represent the lowest 27% of total scores. So with the Kelley's equation ID discrimination, the value will be ranging from -1 to 1. An item distractor that have a value of -1 is a functional and is an effective distractor, as it is attracting more of low performing student to select the wrong answer, i.e. to select the distractor. And if the value is equal to 0, then the distractor is useless, ineffective, and non-functional, as it cannot discriminate between the high-performing and low-performing students. So it does not discriminate or distinguish, and both high-performing and low-performing students are selecting this distractor in equal proportion. And if the value is greater than 0 up to +1, again, this value indicates that the distractor is inefficient, ineffective, as it is attracting more of the high-performing student to select this wrong option or wrong answer. So this distractor, if it has that value, then it has to be replaced or rephrased. Here in Excel, I had placed a data taken from an exam paper for 25 students participating in answering an exam questions that consist of a multiple choice questions. There are 15 multiple choice questions labeled as Q1 up to Q15, and each multiple choice question have 4 possible answer options labeled as A, B, C, D. For the correct answer options in each question, a value of 1 is inserted to represent that the student had answered the question correctly. For example, in question number 1, the correct answer is option B. For question number 3, the correct answer is option number A. For question number 6, the correct answer is option C. And for question number 1, as I have said that option B is the correct answer, then option A and C and D are the incorrect answers. Thus, they are the distractor that distract the student from selecting the correct answer. And in this data, the distractor had been given a 0 value if it is have been selected by student. For question number 1, student number 2 had selected option D, and student number 4 had selected option A, and student number 6 had selected distractor C. To evaluate the effectiveness of these distractor in distracting the student from selecting the correct answer and attracting them to select the wrong answer, then we need to do an item discrimination analysis using the Kelley's equation method. The way to do that is first to calculate the total score achieved by each participant, and this can be done by adding up all the correct answer for each individual student. So in this cell here, I'm going to type total score and then in the cell below I'm going to use the symbol of sum, and then I'm going to select the range of the data to collect the sum for all the 15 questions for the first student. And if I select and click enter, a value is generated of 14. That means the first student had scored 14 questions correctly out of 15 questions. And to auto-fill and auto-calculate the value for the total score or scores for the rest of the student, just select the cell, click, drag and hold to the last student. The Excel will auto-calculate and auto-fill the value for each total score. Now, each student has his total score or performance for this exam, and as we can see here, some of the students had scored 10, some of them 9, and some of them 13, and so on. The next step is to rank these total scores from high to low value, and the way to do that is first to select the row for students, and in addition to the total score, and they'll scroll down until you reach the student number 25. So we have selected all the students with their multiple choice options they have scored. And to rank these data using the total score, select and click on the sort and filter and use the custom sort. In the custom sort window for the column, I'm going to select sorting by the total score, and in the order I'm going for larger to the smallest. And if I click on OK, again the software will rank the total score from the highest to the lowest As we can see here, the higher scorer is 14 out of 15 questions, and the lowest score is 5. Now the next step is to group those 25 students to upper 27% group, upper group, and to lower group of 27% scorer of the total score. So we're going to, since we have 25 students, then 27% of those students will be close to 7. So we're going to select the top data for the top 7 scorer and the data for the lowest 7 scorer. And the way to do that is to type here upper group and to count the scores in each group. Going to next to the upper group cell, type insert equal sign, and then type count, select the count function, and then select the first 7 scores or data for the first 7 students. And if you click on enter, a value is generated. And to auto calculate and auto fill the value for each upper group for each item, select, hold, drag towards the last answer option. The software will auto calculate and auto fill the value for the upper group. And to calculate the value for the lower group, again we're going to type here lower group, and then next to it I'm going to insert the equal sign, and then count, type count and select the first count, and then I'm going to select the last or the lowest group 7 student scores for the lower group. And if I click on enter, again as we can see here, for these 7 with only 2 scores in it, 2 students had selected the wrong option, option A, in this group. And to auto calculate and auto fill the value for the rest of the answer options, hold, drag, and until you reach the end of the data up to here, and the value is generated. Now the next step is to determine the item discrimination, and the way to do that is to insert the equal sign and then open a 2 bracket, and in the between the 2 brackets we're going to subtract the lower group from the upper group. And the way to do that is select the upper group and then add the minus sign, select the lower group, and then after the bracket divide that by 7, as we had selected 7 students for each group. And if you click on enter, a minus value is generated. To auto fill and auto calculate for the rest of the answer options, again hold, drag, and a value will be generated for the rest. Now here, this value of item discrimination will determine whether a distractor is functional, effective, or it is non-functional or not effective. If we look at question number 1, and we will only focus on distractor A, C, and D. In the first distractor A, we can see that it has a value of minus 0.14. This is a minus value. This indicates that this distractor is functional, is effective, in distinguishing between high performing and low performing. As we can see from this, the low performing student are selecting this distractor or this wrong answer option, compared to the high performing student. So for option A or distractor A, it is functional, it is good. For distractor C in question number 1, the value is 0. That means it is not distinguishing between high performing and low performing, which indicate that both group of the student have equal proportion of selecting this distractor. So it is ineffective in discriminating between high performing and low performing, and in this case it ought to discard this distractor and replace it with another one that will attract more of the low performing student rather compared to high performing student. For option D in question 1, which is distractor D, again the value is minus 0.14, and that is a functional and an effective distractor. If we look at further options here, we can see for question number 2, the value is minus 0.28. That is a functional distractor. For question number 3, option or distractor B, again we can see here that the value is 0.28. Here in this case, I will call this distractor as non-functional or inefficient. Why? Because it has a positive value and it is attracting more of the high performing student to select this wrong answer options. So it is non-functional or it is not effective. So this distractor required, it is essential to replace this distractor or this answer option with either a rephrased distractor. So these need to be omitted or cancelled. And this is also the same for the rest of the values. Most of the values here, this is 0, so this is ineffective, this is ineffective, this is this one. For question number 7, it is again ineffective as it is positive, and so on. So this is the way to evaluate and assess the distractor or distractors and to determine whether they are efficient or functional, and they are able to distinguish between high performing student and low performing student in a way that they attract more of the low performing student to select the wrong option or answer option. This method of assessing and evaluating the distractor is based on the Kelley's equation method, and this will give an educator or an instructor a value to measure and then to assess and evaluate the distractor and determine whether a distractor is functioning or not functioning, whether it's need replacing or whether it's doing its job in a good manner in that it is distracting. So this is the way to do it in Excel using the Kelley's equation method.